Hey everybody, it's Amy from My Learning Garden, and today I wanted to show you some progress on the seedlings that are growing indoors, and I'm also going to need to thin out the tomatoes, and I'll explain why, but let's take a look. All of the tomatoes are doing great. The big boy tomato has finally started to come up. This right here is basil. Look at those tomatoes. They are so big. There are some, maybe 3 inches tall. And then the lettuce is doing so good. And then we have the peppers. They finally germinated. Not all of them, not 100%. I took some of my peas. I took 3 of the peas seedlings out to the greenhouse to start hardening them off. That little one right here was taking a little bit longer, so I kept him inside. But I still have some squash going on and pickling cucumbers. And then down here, I have the Walla Walla onions. And I'm also going to be trimming the onions today as well. So I wanted to show you how to do that and why you would be doing that. Okay, let's take a closer look at the tomatoes. So you're going to notice that if we take out one of these little peat pots, you can actually see all of the roots starting to grow out. And if we take a closer look at this one, there are 2, 4, 5 individual tomato plants in here. So when you're planting out your seeds in, these are the peat pellets, but anything that you're planting your seeds in, you want to make sure you're putting 2 or 3 seeds in each little pellet. And the reason why you do that is you want to make sure that you have at least one successful germination. So today we are going to need to go through and thin all of these peat pots out, so there's only one. And so you want to look for pretty much the biggest or strongest. I don't know what happened. I don't know why I have 5 in one pot, one little pot right here, but typically you're going to have 2 or 3. So you just want to go through and find the plant that is the strongest or the tallest, and then you're going to want to take a pair of really sharp scissors and you're going to come straight down at the base and you just want to snip that off. Now this seems really drastic, but you want to do this because if we looked at all of these plants, I mean there's probably in this one tray, if I had to guess, maybe 60 or more tomato plants. And I have seen on YouTube that you can try to pull them apart gently, but as you can see with these roots, the roots are going to get tangled up in each other, and if you just try to pull them apart, you're likely going to damage the root system, and then you're not going to have any plants. So I am going through and picking out, I think I'm going to pick this one as the one who gets to be the winner. So now I only have one really strong plant that will grow big, and you can see that this one already has what they call true leaves. So these are the little seedling leaves when they were first starting to sprout, and these are the actual true leaves, these bigger ones. So these will typically die off, which is fine. So when you plant this, tomato plants are really interesting. If you look at them, you can see all those little hairs on the main stem. Those little hairs are actually roots that they want to be roots. And so when you plant them, and I'm going to do a video on planting the tomatoes, you want to plant it and cover as much of this stem as possible, because wherever the dirt touches these little hairs, they're going to turn into roots. And that's actually going to make a stronger plant. So, I mean, last year when I planted them, they were, I took off the true leaves that were still there and planted it really right up against the leaves, and I had huge plants. They were 6 to 8 feet tall. So I'm going to continue on and show or trim off all of these little extra seedlings, and then I will show you what that looks like. Okay, I've gone through and thinned out every single peat pellet, so there's only one per pellet. And keep in mind, they don't have to be centered in the middle of the peat pellet. So you're really looking for the strongest and the straightest. This isn't really the best example of straight. This one back here happened to be right in the middle, and it's pretty straight. So I may end up in about another week or so putting this in a little styrofoam cup so that it has a little bit more room to grow. And then again, I'm going to bury the stem in dirt up to about here, and that will just make it super, super strong. So now, instead of 100 plants, I only have like 40. But yeah, they all look pretty good. The basil, it smells so good. And when you're growing indoors, because it's in a controlled environment and it's under light, and I just took out the heating pads last week, it doesn't have anything like the natural elements. It doesn't have any wind. So you want to come in about every couple of days and just gently run your hand over your seedlings. And what that's going to do is it's going to strengthen their little stems. And so when you start to get to the point of hardening them off, which we'll cover that in another video, but that's basically just acclimating your little baby seedlings to the outdoors. You want to do it typically on a cloudy day. You don't want direct sun. And it's kind of a process. It takes about a week or so to harden off your seedlings. So I will do a little series on that one as well. So you can keep all of your sad little ones that you cut off. Keep those, throw those into the compost pile. I don't have chickens yet, but someday I'll have chickens, and then those can go to the chickens. So the Walla Walla onions, I was watching a video, I believe it was Callie Kim, and I was getting a little nervous with my onions because, one, not all of them germinated, which was a little bit of a bummer, but as you can see, I have a pretty big tray of onions in here, and they're all starting to flop over. And so what Callie Kim was saying is you want to come in and you want to trim your onions to about 2 to 3 inches. And you want to do that again so that you can kind of get rid of these little seed tops that are happening up here. And then it's just going to make it stronger. So I am going to go through and trim all of these, and then I will show you that video. Okay, the onions got a little haircut. They're all about 2 or 3 inches tall, and you can see they're already stronger. So when you trim these, you don't want to trim them down super low, but what it's doing is it's going to strengthen the greens, and it's actually supposed to force more energy into the root system. So I am going to probably get these hardening off next week as well. I may start introducing them this weekend. It's supposed to be pretty nice and overcasted, so I will probably introduce all of these out to the outdoors. It's not going to hurt them. You just, again, don't want them to be in direct sunlight, and you want to just start out by putting them outdoors, maybe in a shaded area, or if the sun is out, under a little umbrella, and just give them 20 minutes at a time, and then work up to an hour, and then work up to 2 hours, 3 hours. So having seedlings, you can't just take them from this perfect environment, perfect lighting, perfect warmth, and then all of a sudden throw them outside, because they're going to go into shock and then they're going to die. So I will cover how to harden off your plants. Okay, and lastly, I just wanted to give you an update on the seedlings that have been in or under the red and green lights. So in this lettuce tray, I have some Bib lettuce, doing really, really well. And then I have black-seeded Simpson, freckled romaine, and Hanson Crisp. So these are the Hanson Crisp, and they're teeny tiny compared to the Bib lettuce. And again, the roots are coming out all over the place. These are a little bit dry. You can kind of tell, because compared to other seedlings that we just saw earlier, the soil was really dark, and these are starting to, you can actually feel them. They don't feel very heavy, and the soil is a little bit on the lighter side. So I'm going to add some water to this tray, and I add it to the bottom of the tray, and then the little root systems will just soak everything up. So these lettuce, I think I'm going to plant out in my new boxes that I built. I have peas lining the outside of the box, or the inside of the box, but I have some empty space. So I think I'm going to go ahead and plant some lettuce out there and see how that goes. And then we have the collard greens, which are doing really, really good. We'll give them a little wind for them. again, this is a cool weather crop, so I'm going to try to see if I can't get it out into the garden while it is cooler weather, and see if we can't get some colored greens. And then this is my basil. Y'all, this is not basil. This is lettuce. So when you're planting your seeds, be careful that you don't maybe have seeds stuck to the inside of your hand when you're sprinkling in. So I'm leaving these because I think it's kind of funny. What's even funnier about this is that I don't even have this red. It must have been in the blended lettuce that's on that second tray. And while I have the camera pointed this way, you'll see that this right here, this lighting system, I have it at an angle. That's because I have the peppers over on the left-hand side, and those peppers are growing really, really slow. Where on this side, I have the cucumbers and the squash and that one little pea, and it's growing taller. So this lighting system actually is really cool. It has knobs on the side and you can adjust it. So that's why it's wonky. It's not broken. I'm just trying to get the light closer to the little baby seedlings. And when you're using indoor lighting, you want to make sure that the lights are about 1 inch to 2, well, pretty much 1 inch above the actual seedling. The closer to the light, or the closer the light is to the seedling, the better chance you have of your seedlings not getting leggy. And what leggy means is that they're growing really, really tall, reaching for the light. And you don't want that. You want them to have a really strong stem. So that's why they are so close. So I'll actually lower those lights down a little bit more. And then finally, we have the tulips. They are doing really good. So all in all, everything is doing great, except for the light box experiment. I just gave up. I planted that spearmint on 2/21, I believe. Had the light on there. It got hot, so I don't know if it just cooked them or what, but nothing is growing in that. So I might try something else and see if I can make something else grow in the box. So that is it for now today. I just wanted to give you an update on the seedlings and show you how to thin out your tomato plants. So I will say goodbye for now. If you like this video, please like and subscribe.